The Ford Mach-E is celebrating 5 years on this earth.
And as a consequence of that, that means it's time in the normal automotive life cycle for its mid-cycle refresh.
This is the GT variant.
And it kind of absorbed into what used to be the GT and the GT Performance and smushed them together in a holy union of matrimony. But in case you were wondering where the GT Performance bit went when it became just the GT, well, it's a performance upgrade that you can spend money on. And because this is a press car, they unlocked it. I can't believe it's 5 years since Ford debuted this car. I actually went to Germany. I got to see the Mustang Mach-E in its design studio before then going to the LA Auto Show and seeing it revealed there. And this is effectively the mid-cycle refresh.
Yeah, this car has now been on the market long enough. It needs a little nip and a tuck to be relevant.
Well, I have thoughts about that, and let's discuss some of them in a bit, but we're on the freeway, so now seems like a really great time to test out Blue Cruise, which is Ford's hands-off, eyes-up technology.
Yep.
This is Blue Cruise 1.5. I think 1.6 is in the pipeline. The big difference between 1.4, which is what earlier Fords have access to, and 1.5 is that it's got some different hardware under the hood. The metaphorical hood, not the actual hood. And there's also the addition of automated lane changing. And how that works is that as you're driving along, if you come up behind someone who is travelling slower than you, the car will go beep, 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 or it makes a little chimey noise, and then it moves out.
Well, it may be meant to do that, but this morning it has not done that. It has not made any sounds at all prior to moving. It's just gone, I'm going to go over here.
Which is funny that you mention that, because while Blue Cruise itself is very competent, it keeps you in the middle of the lane. I haven't had any negative behaviour in the same way that, say, we've had with GM's Super Cruise. It generally does what you expect it to do, and it's generally well behaved. What I would note is that the sounds and the alert system is not quite there yet.
It definitely isn't. I think also the lane change system still needs some work. It behaved... I mean, it's not really erratic. That's the wrong word for it. What it is it makes some unfortunate decisions, perhaps because it's not assessing data from far enough ahead.
Right, yep.
So it goes, oh, I'm going to move into this lane. Oh no, I didn't need to be in this lane. I'm going to move back.
Yep, I had the same thing happen to me.
And you just do this down the road for a bit. And then you get stuck behind something, I think maybe because it's decided it's done too many lane changes. And it's like, well, I'm going to sit behind this truck at 45 on a 70 stretch. And you're like, maybe we could go round it. And you can just tell it. You can override it and say, I want to go. But yeah, it's really good. And
you can turn it off in the centre touchscreen. Now, unfortunately, people can't see the centre touchscreen because this version doesn't have a panoramic glass roof, which I think is actually a bonus.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes having panoramic glass sunroofs. But you can actually switch off the automatic lane change, and you can also cancel it from the driver controls. I prefer what my F-150 Lightning, obviously those who watch the channel know I drive a Ford F-150 Lightning. It has the assisted lane change, and basically what you do with that is you tap the indicator stalk in the direction you want to go, and if it's safe, the truck will move over, and then you can tell it to move back. So you remain in control of when the vehicle is going to change lanes, and it avoids a lot of the false positives that you were talking about a few seconds ago.
Or indeed situations like this where I can see the traffic is merging, and so I would like the car to go into the other lane, which it does. I can tell it, go do that. As it happens, the traffic is merged and it's fine. But running up to those kinds of junctions, I will generally move out of the way to make sure people can get in. It doesn't have that kind of logic behind it yet.
It waits until it's right behind the slow thing and then moves out.
And then it moves out.
And that can, in of itself, cause a ripple effect in rush hour in traffic.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel that all autonomous systems have that same kind of not really looking ahead. Here we go. It's automatically changing lanes now.
That is the first time today it has made a noise
and
at
it
me.
Goes, do-do-do.
That's,
yeah. Okay. But when I was bringing this up to you on Saturday, on this same stretch of road, I think I've told you the story already.
Yeah, you told me when you got there.
It went to change lanes, and so it did the da-da-da. I moved over to the left-hand lane to overtake, and then the car just carried on making that alert noise. And I'm thinking, is this going to be doing this for the 100+ miles all the way to yours? The only way I could stop it making that noise was to look at the center touch screen to try and figure out a way of turning it off, which then caused the car to go, you're not looking at the road. Oi, put your eyes up so you can see the road. And in creating that error condition, it cancelled the previous alert.
Yeah.
And everything went back to normal. So yeah, I mean, look, Blue Cruise, Super Cruise, full SFD thing.
Yeah, that one.
That one. They all require supervision. There is no such thing as a fully disconnected driver assistance feature right now. Of course, Mercedes-Benz and BMW are doing level 3/4, but even then, very, very restricted. And
lower speeds, not freeway speeds,
right.
That kind of thing.
And from a driver perspective, you are responsible. You are responsible.
As the courts have in fact said.
Yes, yeah, on multiple occasions. So, Blue Cruise 1.5 is definitely an improvement, I think, in some ways. And obviously the hardware, the generational leap in hardware means that I'm sure we're going to get more over-the-air updates pushing forwards as those early cars, like the early Mustang Mach-E's, like the early F-150 Lightnings, get left behind as those new features come in. But let's talk about some of the other things that have changed in this car, because we've both driven Mustang Mach-E's before. We've both driven the Mustang Mach-E GT before. Mm-hmm. This is a new version of the GT. So it used to be you could get the GT and then the GT Performance.
Yep.
Now you can just get the GT. And then in the center console here, you've got Whisper, Engage, Unbridle. And then there's a button here for Unbridle Extend. That button costs you money. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this with... in fact, you made a specific video about Volkswagen doing the same thing, which is that the hardware in the car is the same. You are paying for a software upgrade, which we've seen. We've seen it. It's been there. Like the first one that I really remember is Tesla doing it with the battery pack. Mm-hmm. But I'm not a big fan of things that you don't own, and if you can't control it, you don't own it. Mm-hmm.
The only one that I'm actually the only kind of unlock feature that I was ever really thought was a good idea was one from a company that you're never going to guess.
Yeah, no, go on.
Mahindra.
Okay.
So Mahindra, the maker of the original Riva, G-Wiz, obviously now they make more conventional looking, conventional spec full-size electric cars. They have they had an upgrade, but it wasn't really an upgrade. It was an unlock feature for the battery pack. So here, no, that is the first time it's done something stupid. So that was the first time we'd had issues. That car wanted to occupy the same space as us.
Yes.
And I assume both were running on some kind of semi-autonomous, because that was probably running on autopilot full self-driving. By the way that car is driving right now, it is pegged in the middle of the lane. and we are pegged in the middle of the lane. So I think
Yeah.
we're both in some kind of semi-autonomous mode.
Yes.
All right, where was I? Oh yeah, Mahindra. So Mahindra had a battery unlock feature so that if you ran your battery pack to empty and you got caught a little short, you could use your smartphone to unlock a little bit of extra capacity in the battery pack. I don't think it was a paid feature,
Oh, it's like a reserve.
but it was
motorbike.
it was like
It's
a reserve
tank.
on your motorbike, but you could only do it so many times
Okay.
in a particular period of time. I liked that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it
that's
beats a tow truck, right?
It does. It does. This, however, does not beat a tow truck. And you know, I had an i3 and I went through and software unlocked a bunch of stuff in that because it was an American i3 and they have some issues.
And of
early
course,
ones.
you can put ForScan on this.
Mm-hmm.
ForScan. That's FORSCAN. I know some people will be laughing at my British accent. There's an app called ForScan. We've done a video on it. It allows you to add extra features.
Yeah.
Just to, pull back that extra functionality.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we're going to see a lot more of going forward, is that you're going to find independent shops and people who, spend their time hacking for fun, or cracking, I suppose, for fun, just, finding ways to unlock these features. And then,
getting rid of any extra crud hidden under
Yeah.
extra layers of code.
Yeah, yeah.
I know we've talked a lot about the software rather than the driving experience, and we will talk about the driving experience, don't worry, we've got some nicer roads to drive. But I felt that starting with the software was a really good point, because this car is very different to the car that debuted in 2020 in terms of what you get when you buy it.
Yeah, it is funny because internally and pretty much in most other regards, it feels pretty much the same. But what you're getting is maybe not quite as good of a deal.
Right. So this is based on the same operating system that the original Mustang Mach-E had. That is going to change in the not too distant future. Ford is moving towards an Android-based system. And based on the previews that we've seen for various vehicles that Ford has shared, it does look like Ford is going to keep Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is interesting,
Yeah.
especially with an Android head unit.
Yes. But also a good thing.
Yes.
Very, very much a good thing.
The negative thing here, though, is that for this model year, you do get a lot fewer freebies.
Well, one of those things is your connectivity, and the other is your Blue Cruise.
Right, so you used to get 3 years free connectivity and I think 3 years free Blue Cruise. I certainly did with my truck, both of them. Now it's a 3-month Blue Cruise and I believe it's a 1-year connectivity. Go beyond that and you're going to have to start paying.
And I wonder if that's because they're not seeing people pick up Blue Cruise after the 3 years, or people are turning in their leased vehicles after 3 years and they're not then getting any
Revenue,
income from the Blue Cruise.
Blue Cruise was an expensive product, requires a lot of expensive hardware design, licensing and all of that. And there are features that Ford wants us to subscribe to when you buy a Ford vehicle. So it wants you to use Amazon Alexa. No thanks.
No.
It wants you to take out a data connection to your car so you can have a hotspot in your vehicle. Most of the time, my reaction would be no thanks. However, disclaimer, I do actually have a data plan for the F-150 Lightning, our crew truck, because we're very often making road trips and we are sometimes in the middle of nowhere, and the cell phone connection in the truck is better than it is in the car.
The dirty grey aerial that you can put in a car
Right.
is better than the one you can fit in a phone.
And if we need to do any kind of work on the road, which we very often have to do, someone's very often sat in the passenger seat editing and uploading video, you need a decent internet connection. But for everyday driving, no, I wouldn't want it. The streaming package, you can have YouTube and other video streaming services while the car is parked. That is a separate connection package to the internet connectivity for everybody else in the car. Again, no thanks. Then you've got your satellite radio subscription.
Oh my god.
And there's more.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you have your Blue Cruise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is like what we saw with cable channels when you started getting streaming.
Right.
And at one point, it was a case of, hey, I've got this screaming, yes, actually.
Screaming service.
I need a screaming service quite often. At one point it was that you got your one streaming service, and then it was like, oh well, but this channel's broken off, now I need two. And then suddenly you find you have 5, and you look at it and you go, well, I'm paying an awful lot for not very much. And at what point do you start feeling that about your car, where you're like, do I really need all this cruft? Maybe I don't. Maybe I'll just cancel a lot of them.
And look, phones have pretty decent internet connections. Unless you live somewhere really remote, you should have a reasonably good internet connection. You can stream music on your phone, you can listen to podcasts, you have your mapping software of choice. So you don't necessarily need that. I forgot to mention real-time mapping. Again, that's another feature that you can add to your vehicle, and it's another feature that you can add. For some reason, Blue Cruise doesn't like this tunnel. No matter which vehicle you're in, it always cancels coming through this tunnel. The other thing that's worth noting here, Kate, is that while this centre stack is the same kind of underlying technology that we've seen in previous Ford EVs, it's a lot laggier than what I'm used to in my truck, and I don't know why. I don't know if they've actually changed some processes or something, but it seems slow.
Yeah, I don't know if in part of their trying to make the car probably cheaper to produce, they've cost down some part of this. But a lot of the time it's fine. A lot of the time when you're using it, it feels okay. Its startup is a bit slow and painful, but you know, most of the time you tap on it and things happen with reasonable alacrity. But then if you're listening to streaming music and you try and switch to the car functions, no, that's not happening. It takes time, it stammers, the music pauses, it's not great. And sometimes it takes quite a while, and it feels like maybe it's short on memory and it's unloading stuff to keep running. I don't know. It's something that hopefully they'll improve. They'll, you know, they'll work out the kinks. They'll smooth it all out. But right now, it's not ideal.
It's also told us that it can't do Blue Cruise, which is, you know, we're in town, so that's not really a problem at this point. But we've talked a lot about the tech. Let's actually now talk about the car. So externally, not a lot of differences between the 24, 25 and what came before. There are some differences in trim panel colourings. There's a few tweaks here and there, but nothing to make you buy this over, say, a used 22 or 23.
Interestingly, still comes with CCS.
Still comes with CCS. You do get a NACS adapter as standard now. Of course, unlike the F-150 Lightning, which actually got a reduction in its onboard charger speed, this car still has the same charger capabilities that it's always had. This particular variant of the Mustang Mach-E has an NCM battery pack because it is the Mustang Mach-E GT with performance package. Remember I said earlier the GT Performance doesn't exist anymore. It is the GT, and then you buy the performance upgrade as a software unlock. And it's got the ridiculous massive wheels that all of today's modern sporty EVs has. It's got a not great range.
No, I mean, any car that I get into now that has less range than my 5-year-old
Yep.
mid-size Kia, I'm a little bit surprised. And I'm all in favour of shorter range EVs that are more cost effective. I am less in favour of a car that costs much more that is not so good on the range front. And you can look at it and say, well, it's a performance car, you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like some automakers have done a better job of allowing their performance-oriented vehicles to have a mode that gives you back that range.
Right. I mean, it's worth noting that this will drive very civilly around town and will give you a decent range around town. It doesn't have the 300 plus miles of the regular Mustang Mach-E all-wheel drive variants with extended range because of these massive sporty wheels, because of the more powerful motors, because this is built for sprint times, not endurance driving. It is a little thirsty.
It is a bit of a thirsty girl.
But, I mean, look, I think it's worth noting that I've never driven it from 100% full because it's defaulting to 90% charge, and I didn't change it, and I know you didn't because you said as much this morning when you got in and went, oh, it's only got 90%. And at 90% it was giving you 220?
215 miles of range.
Now, the other day when I got behind the wheel, it said 245 at 90%. So we know which one of us is the more
I'd like to point out
efficient driver.
that I was away this weekend, and so I didn't actually
Damn.
drive the car, apart from I drove it into town to try and drive it around town a little bit.
I'm busted.
And back out. So,
I'm busted. I don't know what you're talking about. I am busted.
yeah. Oh, it's always you. You suck at driving efficiently.
Darnation. Talking about efficiency, though, one really important thing to talk about with this car is it has a heat pump.
Yay! At last, as standard.
As standard. It's a heat pump. It's better than the resistive heater. And it's really interesting, right? Because both Ford and GM, while Nissan and other automakers were putting heat pumps in, they were like, well, heat pumps are not great in really cold weather at warming the interior of the car. Obviously, heat pump technology has improved. The engineering behind heat pumps at both Ford and GM have improved, and now we're both seeing them putting heat pumps in.
I think that's more of it, to be honest, since, they sold cars with heat pumps from other automakers in Norway, and Norway gets quite chilly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think it's more that they have developed the skills, which is one of those things. Like, as you develop skills as an automaker,
Right.
you can do better things.
With that heat pump, you also don't get as noticeable a range drop in winter. Obviously, it is the middle of summer right now. It's 27 degrees Celsius right now. It's going to get up to about 37 degrees later today. So we're definitely not testing the heating capabilities, but the air conditioning is nice and quiet and functional, just like the original Mach-E. And I don't like using the term original Mach-E because this doesn't feel like a version 2. It is just a mid-cycle refresh, but they haven't changed the HVAC really.
No.
Not other than changing the heat pump.
Yeah. It's more of a Mach-E 1.3, 1.4. They've
maybe
done some
1.1.
iterative changes. So we have, as you can see, switched over. I know that we look very similar, but in fact we are different people.
We're like twins.
Yeah. Twinsies. So what we should probably talk about a little bit is what's changed, because we've said the outside looks pretty much the same.
Right.
The interior feels pretty much the same.
Yep.
But there are some nips and tucks.
There are, and the one that I really dislike is that they've moved the rotary gear shifter and replaced it with a stalk.
And the thing is, I like stalks. I don't mind that it's not a rotary. I know you're not that fond, but I don't mind. I grew up driving the i3 and, you know, I actually would be quite fond of it, except that it feels like trash.
Yeah.
It's bendy and floppy and unpleasant.
It has some issues. It is called I think they call it a monostable stalk or something in the press material. And it is neither stable. I mean, I guess it's mono meaning one, but then there's two stalks on the car, so not sure how that works. And it just doesn't feel as intuitive as reaching down and grabbing the little twisty thing and twisting it. Now, interestingly, if you are a Ford F-150 Lightning owner, you have that big gear shifter, and then Ford has had some issues with those. And so a lot of F-150 Lightning owners are actually changing it and putting in the rotary shifter from the Mustang Mach-E, and now they've gone and changed the Mustang Mach-E shifter as well to be this thing here, which I don't like. And you do get a little extra storage pocket, but I really don't feel like it does a whole lot.
No, I mean, they haven't granted you a lot of extra space from it. I'm fine with the multi-way controls everything stalk where it can make you a cup of coffee. Great, that's okay, but only if it actually feels nice to use, and neither of those stalks feels nice to touch.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, but you know what is nice is the steering wheel and the steering wheel controls. That's the same pretty much as the original Mustang Mach-E layout. I really wish that I could sit one of the Ford team down product teams and go, okay, how do you decide what you keep and what you remove, right? Because there are some quality of life features in this car that have been removed from the F-150 Lightning. So you don't get the garage door openers in the Lightning, but you've got them here.
Yeah.
And I think most people still do use garage door openers.
I mean, maybe the assumption is that if you have one of these, you're more likely to put it in a garage than you would with the pickup, which is maybe huge. Intended to live outside.
Yeah. But they also got rid of the tailgate kick, dance your foot under the back of the car thing.
Yeah, which is a shame. Like, I've never really managed to reliably use them, but when they're there, they're the kind of thing that's kind of handy to have, particularly if you approach the vehicle with a big load of shopping and you're trying to get it in.
And there are a few other nips and tucks that I'm not going to go into here, but I do want to call out, if you are considering buying a Mustang Mach-E and you look at the GT and go, okay, do I want the GT because it's got the extra power? Do I want the Rally because it's got the extra power? And remember that the Rally is basically a little bit higher than the Mustang Mach-E GT. So this one sits into the 60s and the Rally is a little bit more than that. But with the Rally, you get smaller wheels, bigger tyres, which means much better feel on twisty roads like this.
A more forgiving ride.
Much more forgiving ride, and you don't have to worry so much about, curbing your wheels, which is something that we've worried consistently about this week, because there's very little rubber on the wheels of this car. And every time you go to push it, you're reminded that, this car is really designed for flat tarmac rather than twisty mountain roads, which is what we have a lot of here in the Pacific Northwest. In terms of seating arrangement, there's a good level of adjustability in this car. Interestingly, the steering wheel is manual. The seat itself is electronically controlled. There's no side bolster support. And again, kind of from a buying advice point of view, I'm probably about as large as you would want to be to own this car and drive it on a daily basis.
Well, and interestingly, because you can't adjust the bolsters, I actually find that I move around a bit too much in the seat because I can't adjust them in. So they just sort of, I don't know.
You flap.
I
will say that the first time I drove this car in its original form, I was about 40 pounds heavier than I am right now. And I didn't really fit. I do fit in the seat now, And like you say, I do wobble around a little bit. But I think if I was much larger, it wouldn't be so comfortable. You do get adjustable lumbar support, but you don't get much in the way of cushioning. The seats don't feel particularly forgiving in that way.
Yeah, they're certainly firm, and obviously this car has 2,217.9 miles on it, so they will get less firm with use. I've really struggled to find a position that I find faintly comfortable. You'll see I'm kind of like all over the place through the video. And that, I mean, part of that is because I have my hair up today, and a lot of modern cars, they've moved...
Let's talk about that.
They've moved the head restraint a little bit further forwards. Maybe that improves the accident protection and reduces your whiplash. I don't know why. I've seen it a lot in the last few years, and I find it very annoying because I tend to have my hair up, which is, you know, my own fault for growing it.
So I just put it in unbridled extend to get through that junction. It's very brisk.
It's interesting, actually, because this car does have, like, very solid performance chops.
It really does. Better than any of the other EVs we've driven this year.
Yes.
I would pick this above the unfortunately named Chevrolet SS, Blazer SS. I would pick it every day above the Acura Overweight and even the Honda.
Yeah. I mean, definitely in terms of performance, this is absolutely head and shoulders above anything else we've driven, I think, this year.
And I think it shows that Ford is ahead of GM in terms of, if you want a drivable platform, Ford is churning out some really good sorted chassis.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I have noticed, and I've noticed this a lot with EVs, is that when you floor it at the top end, because it lacks that kind of... And look, this sounds like I hate EVs, but I don't. I really like EVs. But it lacks the kind of screaming sort of desperation of... When I used to drive a Mark 1 G... Well, actually, it was a GL, it wasn't a GT. When I used to drive a Golf Mark 1, and I would floor it, you knew, because you felt it. Because every part of the vehicle screamed at you that it was trying to do everything to get you there. And this... Like, in a way, it's I think a characteristic of how well sorted the suspension is, how well sorted the motor setup is, how good it is at getting the power to the road. But also, it's like...
It just goes.
It does.
That's 60.
Yeah.
And it didn't even feel like we were really going.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're doing a lot. And yes, it's a lot of fun when you do it kind of at low speeds. But if you do it on the freeway and you floor it, you're like, oh, okay, now I'm doing a terrifying license-destroying speed.
Yeah.
Maybe I should back off.
And on a road like this, this car is begging to be spanked.
Yes.
But unlike the Rally, whose Magna Ride suspension and those difference in wheel geometry and tyre geometry lets you get away with it, I always feel like, while I know that this car will get me through, it's not going to be as fun as a driver. I feel like the Rally is more engineered towards a comprehensive road manner behaviour, whereas this is definitely your Southern California flat freeway or, interstate driving. If you want to get somewhere quick, or you just want to say, hey, I've got the GT.
Yeah.
Which is, totally fine as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, this will give you the performance and it will be fun. But if you really are looking for a driver's vehicle, and I haven't driven the Rally, all I've heard about the Rally is from you.
Raving
and fawning over it. And
I mean, I got it to go sideways on a Rally course, and we have this glorious clip of me going sideways and me being egged on by the instructor to get it as close as possible to the cones. And I think I got the closest of any of the drivers that day.
I can believe that. And I know our DP, also big fan of the Rally, says nice things about it. And getting our DP to say nice things about cars, really quite difficult.
Our DP, Vi hated this. Vi does all of the B-rolls, so has to drive the car a lot. And said not very nice things about this car.
Yeah, I just got a stream of invective about it, like late at night when they were out filming.
Yep.
And yes, they were not a fan.
I
but
mean,
I think it is an extremely competent vehicle.
I think we need to stop calling it an SUV. I have strong feelings about that.
It is not an SUV. It just wants to be because that's what automakers think sell. And I don't know why automakers think everyone wants an SUV, because no one I speak to is like, oh yes, I really want an SUV.
But there is one thing I'm glad that Ford hasn't changed about this car, and I hope if there is a second generation Mustang Mach-E that it doesn't change, and that is the view out of your rear view mirror. The mirrors are tiny. I'm not gonna beat about the bush, and I wish they were bigger. But when you look out of that rear view mirror, you just see some gorgeous hips. And I don't know about you, Kate, but I'm partial to a good set of hips.
Good hips are definitely a thing which I can take some pleasure in.
So that was the 2025 Ford Mustang Mach-E GT
With performance package, which shaves a whole 0.5-ish seconds off your 0 to 60.
Look, I like being able to jam it hard to the floor like anyone else, and the acceleration time is impressive.
It's internal organ removing.
I mean, it's sub 4 seconds.
Yes. That is quick. This thing is quick.
And unlike a lot of EVs out there, it does qualify to be a muscle car.
Yeah.
It doesn't nanny you. It doesn't faff about. If you bury your right foot to the floor, it goes, you're the boss.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. Off we go.
It's got the special suspension with the magnetic fluid, the MagneRide suspension. That's pretty special.
Yeah.
And it's got the ridiculously massive wheels, which
are less special. I really wish I could remember the name. It was like submissive, and I was like, bronze submits, I think it is, or something like that.
For what?
I don't know. Depends on what kind of a person you are, really, doesn't it?
Oh, the wheel design.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Oh yeah.
I just wish that we had more rubber. Bring back rubber.
Yeah, we're a big fan of rubber here at the channel.
You need more rubber. It keeps you safe. Always have a good amount of rubber with you.
Yeah.
But that colour look, it's beautiful.
It is, isn't it? This is absolutely gorgeous.
Do you remember what it's called?
No.
It's a good job I've got the key here. It's called Molten Magnetic. I like the colour. It's a tri-coat metallic. It's beautiful in the sunlight. It seems to change colour. It's now more of a magenta, but when it gets out in direct sunlight, it becomes more of a purple. I think it complements your hair very nicely.
Thank you. That's, why I got it done.
And you get the light up badge at the front, which you're currently hiding.
Yeah, you can't see it right now because it's not lighting up.
But other than that, it's a Mustang Mach-E.
It is.
It's got a proper waggy tail, which means you get a bonus point.
Yeah.
It's got the same abysmal rearward visibility as the other Mustang Mach-E's we've driven.
Yeah.
I mean, that seat D-pillar is problematic.
But I think one of the things we have to give Ford kudos here, and not all automakers have managed this, they've given it a bit of a refresh. And yes, we have issues with the firmware and the software in it, and yes, the, pay for performance upgrade. But they haven't completely screwed it up. It's still a really competent car.
And unlike the Ultium platform, which underpins pretty much every GM now, which was built for versatility and mass production, and, can be put in any number of different vehicles, but never entirely feels at home in any of them. The platform that underpins the Mach-E feels like it was built for Mach-E, which it was. And I think that's an important thing to note. While some automakers are going with, you know, this one size fits all and then tweaking it, it feels like this actually feels completely at home in the Mach-E. Although, this benefits from the F-150 Lightning. Do you know how?
Not off the top of my head. Go on, enlighten me.
Yes. That's a terrible joke. I really walked into that one, didn't I?
You did.
I did. So, this has the same rear motor, I believe, as the F-150 Lightning.
Oh, yeah.
It's geared differently, but economies of scale means that it now costs less to produce the motors for both of those vehicles. And it does give you a true rear bias feel. I don't know if you've noted it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have as much time behind the wheel of this as I normally like to get. Mostly because I wasn't actually at my other job, and so I didn't do that drive. But yeah, driving it, the little bit of spirited driving I got in it, it feels good.
That rear bias also means she will kick out.
Good. Should do.
I mean, you can go round a corner, and if you put your foot down at just the right moment, you are then going sideways.
That's as it should be.
I would love to see this in a drift competition. I think it would be hilarious and also quite fun. So if you have a Mustang Mach-E GT Performance package and you would like to go drifting, please tell me, because I know some Ford engineers. I think they'd love to hear about it too, and I think it would be a fun thing. Has there ever been a point where you've felt you've gone too far?
In life?
No, I mean in the car.
Oh, okay. I didn't get to push it that hard today, so no. Have you?
Funnily enough, no. This has the envelope. It takes you right to the edge of the envelope, goes a little bit past the envelope, and then I think it goes, okay, you don't want to go faster. And my stomach and my internal inner ear gives up before the car does.
I mean, that's fair, because this thing, I mean, the times I pushed it a bit, it stuck to the road. It did what it should do.
Which brings me to, should you buy it? It's a very capable family car. We have talked nothing about the rear seats in this.
Yeah, we haven't, but they're fine. They're the same.
They're adequate. They're the same as the previous Mustang Mach-E. And look, if you haven't watched our previous Mustang Mach-E videos, go watch them, because we've made a few. Less frunk space because of the large motor up front. You do hit a frunk, but it's really only good enough for charging cables and whatnot.
I didn't bring a USB stick with me, so I'm sorry.
The rear load bay is reasonably cavernous. There is an underfloor organizer area, which feels like it takes some of that practicality away, but still practical for everyday use. You can fold the seats flat. If I could choose things to improve about this, it would be the seats. Give me a choice between kind of the old traditional Recaro style. I know they're not Recaro, but they're inspired by Recaro. And give me a slightly better rearward visibility, because that's the thing I really miss. Especially when the car starts deciding it's going to change lanes for you and you're not entirely sure if there is or isn't somebody in your blind spot. I haven't tested it with a motorbike beside me, but I don't know if I would want to.
No, I would be worried that it would change lanes straight in front of a motorbike.
Great auto headlights, very clear, very good to see down the road at night. Convenient charging, 180 kilowatts, possible. You had an issue with the charging, right?
I did. This seemed to have the same problem that we've seen on some cars in the past, where you have to take the weight off the connector to get it to connect. And I went through 2 cycles of just trying plugging it in and being foolishly modern about it, and then I went, oh, I bet it's failing to connect because it's having some communication or insulation issue, and as soon as I took the weight off, it connected and it started charging. That really shouldn't be the case at this point in time.
But I've never experienced that with another Mustang Mach-E, and we didn't experience it with the F-150 Lightning that we had a couple of weeks ago that we haven't filmed the review with yet because somebody on our crew gave it a flat tyre. Behind the camera.
Yeah, well, me, just
No.
to be clear, wasn't
Vi
me.
is constantly getting flat tyres.
That's because Vi takes the cars to pretty places that are
That's true.
full of like rocks and nails and.
Well, no, before Vi started working here, Vi would get like one flat tyre every other day, it felt like, in the Fiat. Anyway, we are digressing. Is it worth the money? Depending on your specs, 60-ish grand, you can push it up from there. Obviously, I would be advocating anybody buying this as an investment would want to put paint protection on, whether that's a film or a ceramic coating. If you ignore the federal incentives, which are going away in approximately 3 days or
Yep.
however many weeks, this is not going to be the most affordable EV that you're going to be able to buy, and it is a performance-oriented version. However, the Select, the entry-level model Mustang Mach-E, is still a great car. It
Yep.
doesn't have the blistering performance. It's a single motor instead of an all-wheel drive. Great car. I still think it's one of the best value cars for this size and segment, not necessarily one of the best EVs. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I think that's true. I think that for most people, this is going to be overkill.
Yep.
And I think if you are a real driving advocate and you want to drive for fun, then I would go with the Rally. And if you aren't, then I would get a cheaper one.
And the Rally is a bonkers car.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. It has proper sized wheels with proper sized rubber on. Make sure you have a good amount of rubber. It keeps you safe. It keeps you out of trouble. Big, tall tyres, proper sized wheels on the Rally. The same kind of performance specs, right? You still get the same ability to unlock the performance mod. You still get incredible acceleration. You get even better road handling. I think the MagnaRide suspension has been tweaked for the Rally, if memory serves. This is a slightly different version to what you get on the Rally. I think they tweak it and they obviously increase the ride height a little bit. It just rides so much better. It has slightly more comfortable seats in my experience. But let's compare like for like. What do you think is the competitor to this in the marketplace right now? For the Rally, sorry, not the...
For the performance
For
variant?
the performance variant, yeah.
I mean, I think Chevrolet would like you to think one of their SS variants is going to be your cross shop. I wouldn't. I would go with this.
So the thing is, this doesn't feel big and heavy unless you're taking a corner. And then the steering rack on this is horrible. Ford can't do tight turning circles. I don't know why. It just...
It doesn't go.
It's the same with the truck. It feels just like the truck when you go around a corner in terms of the amount of work you have to do to get it to go around the corner in terms of movements. That was a wasp. Go away, wasp. I think, though, that the Chevy feels heavier.
Oh, yeah, it does. The Chevy feels the weight of the Ultium brick underneath it.
Right. If I was going to cross shop against anything, guess what I'm going to cross shop it against?
Kia EV6 GT.
GT.
Yeah, I'm taking that one.
Yeah, I would pick the GT from Kia over the GT from Ford. And it's quite simple why. The GT has had all of its engineering ploughed into that drivetrain, into getting every last ounce out of the battery pack, and it's got 800-volt charging. It's got a tighter turning radius, and it feels more like a true performance-oriented car. It's got really firm seats that you can manually adjust. There are no extraneous electronics. It is a just get the job done car. This is a good runner-up.
This is a good runner-up. This is probably better if you've got family commitments and you need to use this as your family car.
And this is more of a road warrior's car.
Yeah. The GT from Kia, the EV6 GT, that is a car for someone who wants a car to drive.
And doesn't have, you know, any kind of dependents that are going to be riding along with them.
No.
And
Not
that
for
means
any
you'll
long
be able
distance.
to thrash it really, really hard. This will let you thrash it while also having a sleeping baby in the back seat. Don't do that. I found out today I am now officially a grandmother, and apparently I've now become really maternal again. So don't drive quickly with your kids or your grandkids in the back seat. Just don't do it. Should we head off?
Yeah. Yeah.
Catch. Thanks for watching today. You can connect with us on Patreon, Discord, Mastodon, Blue Sky, or through our website. Massive thanks to the amazing folks scrolling by right now. You are the reason we can stay independent and keep making content without corporate influence. Want to see your name listed here too? Support starts at just $1.50 a month, and you can now even gift memberships. And of course, a massive welcome to our newest members: Adam B, Andrew Brown, Tiara Graves, Philip Jackson, Dieter Mulhop, Noor Naif, Annie Onimus, Todd Plenis, Barus Sharati, Andrei Starsky, Ralph Stultz, Richard Teague, Triple A Hide, Lisa Vargi, Vicky Morales, Magpie Motors, and Travis Whitman. Thank you for joining up to support the channel. At this particular time in history when everyone's feeling the pinch, we are so grateful that you've joined the team, and that allows us to keep making great content. If you'd like to join them, you'll find our Patreon link below, or you can sign up via YouTube. If you're signing up for Patreon though, please go to the Patreon website. Do not use the Apple or Google app, since both take a big cut that hurts your wallet and reduces the income we receive. Prefer a one-off contribution? We've got Ko-fi, Bitcoin, a PO box, our swag store, and even an Amazon affiliate link, all great ways to make sure your money helps us. We post new videos every few days on the main channel, plus extras over on TE Take 2. And since YouTube comments, while open, aren't safe for us, the best way to chat with the team is through Patreon, Mastodon, Blue Sky, or our website, or in fact, our Discord chat. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we'd love you to check out this one instead. Be awesome, be kind, be intentional, and never forget to resist. Keep evolving.